Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Sunshine Coast Regional District regular board meeting of Thursday, March 25th, 2021. And I would like to call us here to order at 2:01 p.m. and to acknowledge that the Sunshine Coast Regional District operates on the traditional territories of the Seashelt and the Squamish First Nations, and we're very grateful and lucky to be here. We have an amended agenda in front of us today. There were a couple of late items that came through. So directors, I hope that you have those all in front of you. There will also be an additional item of new business. It was one that we discussed earlier today at CAS, but because of a timeline and committee placement for that, it'll be the letter from Mayor Helps of the City of Vancouver, or pardon me, the City of Victoria. And we just have Director Paul joining us right now as well. So with that, I just like to confirm that everybody does have the amended agenda in front of them today. And with that, I would like to ask for a motion to adopt this amended agenda, please. So moved and seconded. Any further additions or anything? Nothing else from staff? Seeing that, I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Is there... sorry, it always takes a moment to get back into the rhythm of things after it's been a couple of weeks. So I'm going to ask for a motion to receive minutes, reports, and correspondence, please. So moved and seconded. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. First thing up are the minutes of the regular board meeting minutes of March 11th, 2021. And this is Annex A, pages 1 to 22 of our package. Directors, before we adopt these minutes, are there any errors, omissions, changes, additions that need to be made or flagged? Seeing none, I'm going to ask for a motion to adopt these minutes from March 11th, 2021, please. So moved, seconded. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Directors and staff, is there any business arising from the minutes or unfinished business? No? Okay, so we will move on. Next up, we have presentations and delegations. We have none today, so we will continue through to our reports. The first thing up in number 3 on your agenda, Annex B, pages 23 to 26 of the package, are the Infrastructure Services Committee recommendations numbers 1, 2, 4 to 6 of March 11th, 2021. Directors, before we adopt these as a block, are there any of these recommendations that you would like to pull to debate separately? And then the same question for staff, if there's anything that needs to be pulled, please. Not seeing anyone jumping up and down, so we're going to assume that everything's all right, and I'm going to ask for a motion to adopt the Infrastructure Service Committee recommendations from March 11th, 2021. So moved, Director McMahon, seconded Director Seegers. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Next up, number 4 on our agenda, Annex C, pages 27 to 31 of our package. This is the Planning and Community Development Committee recommendations numbers 1 through 17 of March 18th, 2021. Director Lee has asked for number 6 to be pulled from the package. Directors, are there any other ones that you would like pulled from the package as well? Seeing none, okay, so with the exception of recommendation number 6, I'm going to ask for a motion to adopt the remaining recommendations from the Planning and Community Development Committee of March 18th, 2021. May I have that motion, please? Thank you, Director Seegers, seconded Director Beamish. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Regarding recommendation number 6, Director Lee, over to you, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I've been getting a few questions about this, and I thought I'd ask for some clarification on the intent of recommendation number 6. I believe the issue was that we had discussed actually approving the new process by April 1st, and yet our APCs aren't going to be seeing this until March 31st. So I just wanted to know what the timing actually is going to be on addressing the process changes we were talking about. Is it something that we need to put in the recommendation, or is it just something that's going to happen? Or
All right, over to staff, please. GM Hall.
Thank you for the question, Chair. These changes are administrative changes that staff will begin implementation of in April, and full rollout with supporting information, including that information sharing opportunity with our APCs, will occur before we're fully into using these processes. The commitment here is that nobody is surprised.
if they have suggestions for improvement or changes, will there be time to implement them into the process?
Staff?
Thank you for the question. Staff will certainly approach this with open ears and an open mind and be listening. But by the same token, I would note that the changes that were described in the report from March 18th are pulling our processes into alignment with our bylaws or matching our process to established practice in the province. And so from that point of view, staff intend to proceed with making these improvements to meet the expectations that are set out in our bylaws. And we'll look in the spirit of continuous improvement that if we're hearing things where there's an opportunity for further improvement, that we will consider if and how to roll those in. And if those changes require, for example, amendments to bylaws, staff would bring them forward for a committee's consideration. Thank you.
Okay. Director Seegers?
Thank you. I'd be interested to hear what Director Lee's concerns are around this that he's been hearing. Is it that they're concerned that it's going to impact how they interact with these, or what's behind this? Do we know?
Director Lee, over to you.
Yes. The concern is that if the APC hears about them too late to get feedback in from the communities, that it'll be a done deal before the communities have a chance to respond. And the communities specifically I'm referring to are the waterfront owners in Pender Harbor, the waterfront owners in Saginaw and Ruby Lake. The developments have these things that happen in the area have potential to affect the greater area, and they often only hear about them when the referral is made to the APCs. They don't hear about them before that. And so the question is there time for the community to get organized to express their concerns and make sure they're addressed? And so that's why they are unsure about the proposed process and the timing of things that happen. So if we're just telling them, then why even bother with it? Just tell them, I guess. But they were hoping that they'd have an opportunity to provide input into the process and have their concerns addressed. And it feels like it's not happening to them and to me.
Director McMahon?
Sorry, I have a slightly different issue. I just wanted to make sure that when provincial referrals come in, that they will be sent to directors so that we know that that's happening. And then we can pass it on to the community to, point them at the provincial website and, go get them. But if we don't even know it's happening, it can be kind of difficult. So I'm hoping that a process will be put in place to keep directors in the loop about provincial referrals. Thanks.
Director Lee, back to you.
Yes, Director McMahon has brought up one of the concerns that I didn't list here, and that is exactly that the communications with the community occurs in multiple ways, and it's usually through the director or through the APC. And the communities typically come back to the director or the APC members. And perhaps we should be, the way the process looks, it looks like we're going to get about 100 individual community members commenting rather than one APC commenting. And I'm not sure I can handle that kind of a volume. I'd much rather have the community group handle it as one voice rather than the individual community members coming at us. And so that's the community's concern with this change. And I think we should address it before we put it in stone. That's where I'm coming from here.
Back to Director Seekers.
Thank you, Director Lee. That helps clarify some of that. I think what has happened in the past, though, is the regional district has taken on a role, particularly with provincial referrals, that isn't our role. They should not be coming to you with this information because we can't do anything about it. They should be going to the province. That's what the process is being set up to do, to actually put the right process in place for what we are responsible for and what we're not responsible for. If they come to us, we can't do anything about that, and it delays our response as an organization to the province as well. So Director McMahon's point was that, yes, you as directors need to know that this is happening, and then you forward that information to your residents. They respond to the province, not to the regional district, and not to you. They might advise you, but it's not up to us as a regional district to take action on that. It's up to them to let the province know, because that's where the decision is made.
Yeah, and the other piece too is the role of the APC, because the APC, it's not within their mandate to solicit feedback from the area. They've been selected to be representative of the area and be an advisory to the rural director in that case. So, I mean, if they choose to go out and get additional feedback from the community, that is, I mean, that's certainly up to them, but that's certainly not part of their role. So, Director Lee, back to you.
Yes, I'd like to comment on two aspects of it. One is that our role is advocacy to the ministers when there is things happening that we don't like, and we do it all the time. So we do have advocacy is our role, is our responsibility. And if it's a serious issue, I believe we do have a duty to advocate to the province on our residents' behalf. So I'd like to bring that point up. The other part is that it's not necessarily the APC's members that go to the public come to them. I guess we can direct them direct to the planners if that's the right thing. But I think we need to understand that in the process, how it all works, because they will ask us we need to make sure we're comfortable with the process. And it is a change from what we're doing today that they're used to. And we're telling them, no, we got a better way. But we should ask them, is this better? Not tell them, this is better. That's my take on it anyways.
Director Seegers.
I think staff, that's part of why this recommendation is come forward, is that, you know, this information is going to be referred out to them. And as they do these orientation sessions, they will be explaining the process. And I'm sure they'll make their views known. And that's the perfect place to do that, because then they'll understand, you know, what we're hoping to achieve with the changes that we're making. And I'm sure if staff find that there's something inside what they're putting forward that they feel should be incorporated, they're going to do that.
All right, thank you. Director Lee, back to you.
Thank you, Director Seegers. I'm hoping that that's what was going to happen, and there will be an opportunity, and that was my question. Is it going to happen that way, and will there be an opportunity for them to be heard? And if their questions can't be answered, will there be an opportunity to make changes, whatever changes we need? I believe GM Hall did say that that was correct. That was his intention, but I'm just looking for clarity on that.
Mr. Hall, GM Hall.
Thank you, Chair. I guess to clarify, yes, staff are keen to hear from our team members on our APCs and look at this as we are all part of Team Sunshine Coast along with our volunteers, and we want things to work. The ability of staff to make change is limited to our administrative processes. And so if there's something that comes out of our next steps here on the items in this report, where there's an ask for more change, that might mean something like a bylaw amendment. And so, of course, you know, I would defer to our elected decision makers for something like that. If I could also mention, these are important changes that will help us win back some operational capacity that we can reinvest in some things that will do things like improve our communication with the community on things that matter. And so directors know about the Bang the Table tool that we have coming up, and improvements to our website as examples of things that can help the whole community stay informed. And I would add into that mix the improvements that the province has made to their portal that make it easier to see what's going on. So there's context around these particular administrative changes now, and there'll be more improvements coming. Thank you.
Director Lee.
Yes, thank you. That satisfied my concern. I'd like to recommend that we do adopt number 6 then.
Okay, so moved Director Lee, seconded Director Toth. Any further discussion on this? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you, motion carries. Okay, next up, just bear with me one moment. Next up, we have one of our late items added, and it's 4A in your package, page 31A, and it's the Corporate and Administrative Services Committee recommendations number 4 and 6 of earlier today. I have to apologize too. I didn't realize that staff had captured that for recommendation number 6 that it be forwarded to today's meeting. I had missed that. We're going to do these two separately, So the first thing, by the power invested in me, recommendation number 4 regarding the Pender Harbor and District Chamber of Commerce 2021 grant request. May I have a motion to adopt this recommendation, please? So moved, Director Lee, seconded Director Toth. Is there any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Next up, recommendation number 6, the Help Cities Lead campaign request for letter of endorsement. We have a, we would like, this letter is a better fit for the Planning and Community Development Committee of April 15th, but I'm going to go to Director McMahon, please.
Yes, I'd like to move recommendation number 6, but that the letter be deferred to the April 15th Planning Committee.
Thank you very much, Director McMahon. May I have a seconder for that? Seconded. Thank you. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Up next, we have number 5 on our agenda, Annex D, pages 32 to 34 of our package. And this is for the placement of notice on title from our chief building official. There's been an update to this, but if I can forward that over to, I'll go to GM of Planning, and then he can put it over to Mr. Wilson if he'd like.
Thank you, Chair. So under Section 57 of the Community Charter, building officials are allowed to recommend that a notice be registered against land title where there's an observation of a condition with respect to land, building, or other structures that's considered to contravene a regional district bylaw, provincial regulation, or any other enactment that relates to the construction or safety of buildings or other structures. And so from time to time, staff bring forward recommendations for placement of notice on title where such conditions are observed. And staff have brought forward a number here. In addition to the amendment that was made by striking out item number 2, staff are also pleased to make a recommendation that item number 3, property number 3, be removed from the report on the basis of ongoing compliance discussions with the owner. And we have our Chief Building Official, Alan Whittleton, here with us today. If there are questions with regard to any of the properties referenced on page 32. Thank you.
Thank you very much, GM Hall. So directors, do you have any questions for staff in regards to any one of these items? Director Ties.
Yeah, reading through them, it looked like number 6, a rock retaining wall that has failed. I'm just wondering, and in this one, the particular language was not included, that there's no threat to safety. So I'm wondering, is there a threat to safety, and is placing a notice on title sufficient, or is there some more work that needs to happen here?
We didn't put that in the report because we really can't confirm that there's no safety risk here. We are in constant touch with the owner. He is trying to secure the services of an engineer, but is having trouble doing that. So we're looking to put notice on the title, but we are still working with the owner to try and resolve the issue.
Thank you, Mr. Whittleton. I noticed that our gallery is empty of owners, but I'm just wondering if we knew of any that were expecting to show up today or had wanted to appeal to the board on any of these items. None? Okay.
Staff haven't been contacted about that, Chair.
Okay. Thank you. I had that question for staff earlier this week because this is a lengthy list of I think this is a total of that we've seen since we were first elected 2.5 years ago. So it's quite the list. Mr. Whittleton. So, Director Ties, another question?
No, I was going to make the motion that we follow staff recommendations on page 32, excluding number 2 and number 3.
Okay, that sounds great. I see a seconder from Director McMahon. Are there any further discussion or questions on any of these recommendations? I'd just like to comment, I'm glad to see that even right up to press date that staff is still continuing to work and owners are willing to try and come in compliance. So that's fantastic. So with that, I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Whittleton. You're welcome to stay if you'd like, but you certainly don't have to. Okay, so next up, we have Annex E, number 6 on our agenda, the request for exemption to SCRD noise bylaw. So this is pages 35 to 36 of our package. Over to our corporate officer, please.
Thank you, Chair. So this report is coming forward to authorize an exemption to SCRD noise bylaw in consideration of construction work that may be occurring during regular quiet hours outside of the construction hours and machine noise hours set out in our bylaw. Staff would just like to note that enforcement of this bylaw, while it is discretionary due to the length of time that the work will be undertaken, we did feel it was appropriate to bring the report forward. Also, because of the location of the landfill, we feel there's likely a low probability that any of the noise generated will actually cause disturbance to the immediate area.
Great. Thank you very much, Corporate Officer. Directors, do you have any questions? Director Seegers, then Director Ties.
I don't have any questions about this. I do know that people actually on the other side of the bay can sometimes get noise from this side just because of the confirmation of whatever, how it's all laid out over there. So this actually is a way to actually make sure that people know about it in the community as well. I'm sure the press are picking up on that.
Okay, thank you, Director Seegers. Director Ties, then Director Hiltz.
I was going to move the recommendations on page 35. Staff recommendations.
Okay, I do have a bit of a speakers list before we go. I'll come to you when after we go through the speakers list, Director Ties, and I'll let you move it then. But I have Director Hiltz and Director Beamish that had their hands up before. So we're going to go to Director Hiltz first, please.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, the question I had was, has the SCRD ever considered a permit and the delegation to staff for these type of requests? And would that encourage more people to apply for the exemptions rather than bringing to the board? It seems to be a pretty rare occurrence coming to the board, but it does seem like a place where other jurisdictions delegate these things to staff. So has that ever been considered in the past? Would it help? Would it smoother? Are they just so rare that it's more worry than not?
Corporate Officer.
Thank you, Chair. Well, in my time at the SCRD, I think I've seen maybe 3, and that's over 8 years. So they're not that frequent. And this one was actually initiated by the SCRD. So they come across rarely, and I have no knowledge of us ever contemplating a different process by which to address them.
Thank you. Director Beamish?
Yeah. I probably shouldn't say anything here, but I'm generally not in favor of 12-hour day, 7-day-a-week noise. People do have the right to have some quiet time. And when you're working like that, if this was to come to me at Gibson's Council, I would oppose it. And if it was to come to me in the regional district at close to Gibson's, I would oppose it. But it's that right to have some quiet time. I mean, in a community and working industrially like that. And I appreciate Councillor Director Seeger's remarks because I have heard those complaints from people who hear things across the bay. Sound travels over water. But I'll leave it at that. As I say, it's not going to affect the town of Gibson. I just feel in a general principle, we have a noise bylaw for the purpose of giving people quiet time. Yet we're taking quiet time away from people 7 days a week here in an industrial setting. So, yeah, my thoughts. Thank you.
Director Toth?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to chime in because I do live downhill from the landfill, and I do live in a semi-industrialized area here on the east side of Porpoise Bay. And you get noise outside of the hours that are within the bylaw regardless, because we've got multiple jurisdictions. We've got District of Seashell, we've got SCRD, and we've also got the Seashell Nation as well. So you hear a lot of like the construction aggregates noise and things like that outside of what would be normal sort of industrial hours. So as somebody in this area, I actually have no problem with this because it'll just be part of the ambient noise of the area. I did want to ask though, if staff will be referring this to District of Seashell staff to help make sure that they're aware of it and communicate it, or would you like a separate motion to that effect?
Corporate officer or GM Rosenboom? GM Rosenboom or corporate officer? Whoever would like to take it.
It's the same answer. I think the answer will be yes. We'll work with the district staff, town staff, district staff, as well as we'll make sure that it's available on the website and social media when we actually do the more intense construction activities, so people are aware of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Corporate officer, anything to add to that?
No, thank you.
Okay. It was going to be the same answer, wasn't it? Yes, of course. Director Lee?
I just have to ask the question. It's not that doesn't really affect me, of course, but isn't construction aggregates working outside those hours already?
I'll go to Director Toth because it's your neighborhood.
This is that cross-jurisdictional thing. You know, the noise bylaw for the Sunshine Coast Regional District doesn't cover the construction aggregates operations, to my understanding, just in the same way that the District of Seashell noise bylaw or, you know, whatever bylaws wouldn't cover work going on at the landfill because it's outside of our jurisdiction.
Yes, I had that. Yeah, I had that, or a similar question that Director Toth touched on as well. Is does the sound does it affect the other operations? So, Director Paul, did you want to add on anything with that as you're there as well?
That is my jurisdiction, and we are working with Lehigh Group to put together a noise containment process through the Joint Implementation Committee. There's a working group that's working with that all feverishly because Lehigh wants to run longer hours. And we said, well, we have a noise bylaw that you have to adhere to. And they are very, very aware of it, and they are working to try and contain their noise and also their light and their dust. All those things have been raised as issues that need to be addressed, and they are putting their minds to it. They've hired various groups from outside the province and experts from around the planet that come over here and poke and prod at rocks and different things and say, okay, well, how do we make them to be a little more quiet? It's being worked on.
Thank you, Director Paul. Okay, so seeing that's the end of my speakers list, I'm going to go over to Director Ties to move the recommendations. Are you still okay with that? Moving the recommendations on page 35. And I had noticed Director McMahon wanted to second that, so that's been seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you, motion carries. Up next, 6A on your agenda, which is pages 36A to D of our package. And this is the COVID-19 Safe Restart Grant for local governments. So over to our CAO McKinley, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, we just got this letter quite recently, and we do have an additional $241,000 coming our way, which is welcome. Yet we would note that it still pales in comparison to what several municipalities got, but that's okay. It's welcome. It has not arrived at a time that allows us to really do anything with it in terms of the 2021 budget that's just finished. And I think that we're well positioned with our use of COVID restart funds as part of the 2021 budget process. And this provides us with quite a bit of flexibility as we go into the 2022 budget process. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Terrific. Thank you, CAO. Directors, do you have any questions regarding this? Director Seegers.
No questions. I think the money is welcome. And I would be pleased to move the recommendation on page 36A.
Well, technically, we've already received it, both received the letter and the communication. So we, okay. Yeah, but I would echo your words, though, that it is very welcome. It is, you know, I'm happy to see that we received some more funding. Over to Director Hiltz, please.
Is this a time when we say thank you? Is this a thank you thing? You know, because they didn't have to do it, and they seem to have responded to the calls from regional districts. So is this a positive outcome that we should celebrate in some ways? That's you know.
Would you like to? I would happily agree with you, Director Hiltz, that okay. When we do get some semblance of anything, I think it's important to acknowledge, and even if it's an acknowledgement and an ask, but I'll leave it to you to word out the motion however you wish.
Sure, I'd propose a motion to say thanks, you know, just thank you, and somehow say we would like a little bit more if that's, you know, this is a little bit more, please. Yeah. So yeah, I'll leave it to anyone else's discretion on the letter, but yeah, just say thanks. And I did note it was a holdback, so it was a sort of a similar strategy to what the SCRD did. We decided to hold back 50 grand. The provincial government decided to hold back 10 million, and now they're kicking it out. So it seemed to be kind of a similar process to what our staff advised us to do with our COVID. So there was just, I saw a parallelness in how that money was federal government to provincial, hold back 10 million, and now they're kicking it out to someone who's asking for it. So I guess that's what will be the SCRD's process ongoing, and we'll, as staff said, we'll see how we spend this in the future. So yeah. So,
okay. So what I'm hearing is for the board to send a letter saying thank you for the additional restart funds, and along with it would be with also within the body of the letter expressing a desire for a different funding arrangement with regional districts in the future, or along those lines.
Maybe thank you is just enough.
Maybe thank you is just enough. Director Seegers?
I want to come at it saying something like, thank you for the additional funds. We appreciate that you heard the concerns from the regional districts. And you could even say, you know, should additional funds become available, we would gratefully accept them.
That sounds okay. So I think we have enough there for a motion and for direction on letter writing. And we look forward to the third installment. So that's maybe just a little bit too cheeky, but it's a possibility. But I thank you, Director Hiltz, for making that motion. And I think Director McMahon, I saw your hand raised to second it. And is there any further discussion on this? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Okay. Anything further on the Safe Restart Funds See none. Just hang on one second. I just need to get back to my agenda here. Next up, number 7 on our agenda is the Chief Administrative Officer's Report of March 25th, 2021, Annex F, pages 37 to 39 of our package. CAO, over to you, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yeah, a year, just like that. It goes by really fast. A year in COVID. And what a year it's been. So much gratitude to all the hard work of staff to get us through this and all the support from the board. It is greatly appreciated. If you've got any questions about the CAO report, I'm happy to take them.
Okay. Directors, any questions? Over to Director Toth first, please.
Thank you, Chair. I actually meant to follow up with the CAO on this when I was at the office earlier today, but the Chapman water landslide intake issue, where are we at with it? We'd heard that it was going to be finished soon, and we'd heard that we'd gotten some funding from the province towards that, but are we done there?
I think I'll go over to GM Rosenboom if that's okay, CAO. Okay, Mr. Rosenboom.
Thank you for the question. The work have been successfully completed, and staff are actually currently working on a report for your upcoming committee meeting to close that loop with the board as well and public. But the work have been successfully completed within budget.
Yay, we love that word, within budget, or that phrase. That's fantastic. Terrific. Any further questions for the CAO's report? Director Hiltz?
More of a comment. It's the 2021 utility billing, and it seems like we kind of went from not a lot to a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm referring to the utility 2021 frequently asked questions, which is now a substantial document. So we now kind of have three places for the public to go and figure out how much they're paying. So it almost feels like we're almost swinging a little bit too far into the pushing out the information and not packaging it up more succinctly. But you know, I like it. There's a lot there, but when I kind of bogged down, going, oh boy, which one do I look at? So it's just a comment that I have, watched this frequently asked questions grow, and 2021 is definitely the largest and most exhaustive frequently asked questions so far. So it's just a comment that there's a lot of information for someone to figure out how much do I pay, and how much they have to read to figure that out. So it's just a comment.
Okay.
I thank you for the information.
Yeah, and I think I'm happy to provide have more information than less. So that's we'll see where the pendulum is on this and see the public reaction after. So any further questions on the CAO's report? Okay, thank you, CAO McKinley. Next up on our list are our communications, number 8 in our package, Annex G, pages 40 to 42, and this is from the Sunshine Coast Highway Society. Any comments or questions on this, or any board direction on any direction the board would like to take on this? Director Seegers?
Thank you. I know that the Highway Committee had forwarded the letter on to the Ministry of Transport or Elena Farmer somewhere, and they did get a response. I don't know if that response came back here, but they were informed that when the new bypass study is being done, that they will be included in the consultation process.
Thank you. Director Ties?
Yeah, I'll be voting against this. We've discussed it at CAS. Any more information needed, you can find it on my website. I'm not going to get into it now.
Okay, Director McMahon?
Yeah, I don't think we need to do anything further on this at this point, because Modi has announced that they're doing a bypass study, and the Highway Society will be consulted on it. So I think we can just let this sit at this point.
Okay. So we have received it. Director Seegers, I do see your hand up. Was there anything else you wanted to say? No. So we've received this letter. Unless the board has any further direction, I am just going to continue on through our agenda. Director Hiltz?
Yeah, I reread the letter and re-looked at the website, and I can find, I voted against it as a new highway in the vision of 40 kilometers of 4 lanes of $4 to $8 million a kilometer is a pretty big ticket item. But I guess, has the SCRD actually got a position on a bypass or a new highway? And I went back to the integrated transportation study, and the position at that time was to reduce the dependence of single vehicle occupancy vehicles. And within the Highway Society goals are there, I seem to see there is agreement in there with many things. I think that, the place I disagree is that, a 4-lane, super spectacular, high-speed, state-of-the-art, $300 million highway. I don't see that vision. So I'm just wondering do we actually have a vision for the Sunshine Coast Highway? Because we did a letter in 2019, and now we have more information. So is this something that we need to be, more formalizing about what the position of the regional district is on Highway 101, aside from the upgrades that we're seeing in the corridor study? So it's just something that's, I want to agree with them, because there's a lot of good stuff to agree with, and they want to work on it. So that's what I'm trying to figure out, a way to say yes to this, and a letter support, maybe updated. So I don't know. It's just something that I was pretty firmly against this, and then I'm going, how can I agree with this? And there are bits that I can't agree with. So it's a question that's there.
Director Seegers and then Director McMahon.
Thank you. I'd like to see this whole conversation forwarded to the regional growth strategy conversation, because they're all tied together.
Fair enough, Director Seegers. I would agree with that. Director McMahon?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that there's 30,000 visions for our transportation solutions on the Sunshine Coast, but we could have this conversation at the Transportation Committee, but it will be integral to the regional growth strategy without a question. Personally, I feel that some of the safety issues associated with the highway need to take priority over the long-term solution, because we do have a number of very risky situations with that highway.
Thanks, Director McMahon. Seeing no further motion come out of this, I am going to move us through. We have no motions today, but we have a bylaw, and that we're going for first, second, third reading and adoption, and it's a biggie. Number 9 in your agenda package, Annex H, pages 43 to 83. It seems like this has been our life for the last while, and I know it's definitely been our CFO's life. So is there anything else to further bring up here, CFO, before we go to our readings?
No, thank you, Chair. I just want to thank everyone. We're passing through the finish line, and just to point out that the items that we addressed this morning at corporate and administrative services are included in the bylaw.
Thank you, CFO. I forgot to mention that earlier when we went to that. So, Director Ties.
I just wanted to say a big thanks to Tina and her staff. I think this has been a monumental task, and they've managed to do it within the deadlines and with as much flexibility as was possible. Sorry. Anyway, yes, thank you very much. And you can carry on now.
Okay. Thank you, Director Ties. That was your timer for you to stop speaking anyway, so that's all right. Okay, and I would like to echo those thoughts, not just to our financial team, but in our entire team of staff, because I know this has been, it's been a long work in progress with 7 days just with the board and all of the work and research and project development in the background. So thank you very much for all of this. And with that, I am going to ask for a motion for first reading of Sunshine Coast Regional District Financial Plan Bylaw number 731.20 or 2021, please. So move Director Toth, seconded Director McMahon. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. And for second reading of Sunshine Coast Regional District Financial Plan Bylaw number 731/2021. So move second reading. Director Seegers, seconded by Director Ties. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. And for third reading of Sunshine Coast Regional District Financial Plan Bylaw number 731/2021. So move third reading. Director Ties, seconded by Director Hiltz. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. And finally, for adoption of Sunshine Coast Regional District Financial Plan Bylaw number 731/2021. So moved adoption. Director Beamish, seconded Director Seegers. Any last chance for discussion or comment? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Excellent. Applause. Okay. Director McMahon has a new sign for applause. So excellent. Thank you, everyone. With that, we will go on to director's reports. And I am going to start with Director Toth. Over to you.
Doesn't even give me a chance to look at my phone to see
sorry.
what my calendar had in it. I honestly, nothing comes to mind. So I have nothing to report at this time. There you go. Next.
Okay. Thank you, Director Toth. Up next, I have Director Paul.
We just got through our budget, and when I asked him how can we get into the conversation on forward planning, he says right after audit. So, so I guess we're now looking at sometime after June. So that gives us plenty of time to have a conversation around forward planning. I wanted to announce that Selena August will be replacing me beginning next week, and in the chair here for the regional board. I will be leaving. Alvina will stay on as alternate, and I want to thank you for a glorious ride through COVID country. That was quite the ride. It was fantastic, and I look forward to you. I may be leaving, but you will be seeing plenty of me. So with that, thank you.
Thank you so much, Director Paul. And yes, our hands up to you, and thank you so much for the time that you've and introspection and being here at this table, being with us. We've really appreciated having you here. And sorry to see you go. Looking forward to having Selena though at the table as well, and looking forward to welcoming her here. So thank you, Warren. Up next, I have Director Lee, please.
Thank you, Chair. It's kind of been a quiet little while, but I did attend the High Ground meeting conference, and actually I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. And there was some interesting quotes that I heard. one of them that really caught my attention is that we're all part of this race-based system and we have no choice. And I thought that really wrapped it up quite well. It was a very, very interesting comment. We got to work through it. We got to live with it. There was also some other good words I scribbled down, and that was on the climate emergency. And if you're really serious about something, you spend what it takes to win, and you also always tell the truth. Those two caught my attention, and pointed out that the COVID emergency was a good example of it, of being bold and addressing it. And if we're going to get serious about the climate emergency, we're going to have to take a very similar tact. We're not treating it as an emergency right now. We're just sitting back and watching it. So that was, I'm planning on attending the other two as well, seeing that caught my attention and I kind of enjoyed it. The last thing is that there's interesting occurrence here in Area A. There's a group of people in Saginaw that are looking to put their own road in so that they no longer have to go through lake access only, boat access only. Quite a big deal. And so we'll probably be hearing more about it. But for those that are in the know on the area, it's a road through lot 4700 out to what they call the Saginaw Peninsula. And it's about, I think, 50 people there. And there's quite strong support in that the emergency services have had to deal with some instances on the lake, and you can't get to them when it's a boat. So if you can get a road, they're very supportive of it. And I am from simply that reason. And good news is, I guess for me, and because I'm that age, I'm scheduled for my COVID shot on Friday. So that's a little bit of good news, even though it might hurt a little. But I'd like to get back to face-to-face meetings. I feel like a hermit here at times, you know, and I'd like to get out and about a little more. So anyways, that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Lee. Let us know if that shot hurts. Director Paul got his, and I think he's still here, so we're good. Over to Director Beamish, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just been busy here. We are also finalizing and plowing through our budget process. We held a budget dialogue on Tuesday night. I appreciated seeing some recognizable faces around that table. Director Seegers, Director McMahon, and Director McMahon brought her mute sign, which was helpful, so that we appreciated that. It was interesting. We had about 30 people participate, and we broke it down to small pieces in terms of rooms for people to get together on with our staff. And I think the experience was good. And I think that we will look at doing that again as another opportunity. Housing is still continues to be an issue. Right now, the supportive housing is being populated, and I expect that over the next week or so that'll be finished and everybody will be in there. And the shelter itself is still operating at max, but here max is not very big. I think it's 5 to 7 people they can manage, and they're getting a few more than that some nights. It is slated to be closed at the end of March, and I know that one of the groups that's working with the shelter is looking at asking for an extension on that to see if we can't keep that open for a bit longer. There's also, like our community Christmas dinner, we're now preparing a community Easter dinner, and that'll be held at the Legion on Easter Sunday. And we're looking at, again, welcoming 300 people, already taking orders for dinners. So we have an idea how many are coming. And through that, we also support the supportive housing and shelter in Seashelt and the supportive housing locally. So that accounts now for 100 dinners to be delivered, so that it's a busy time. So there's a few volunteers who get involved in that program, and it's good to see that there's even more volunteers coming on from time to time. It's not always the same people, so we're looking forward to that. So I think that's about all for now. We're still, as I say, just going through our budget process and different issues as they come up.
Great. Thank you, Director Beamish. Next up, I have Director Hiltz, please.
Thanks, Chair. I guess I'm going to tag on to Director Lee's the good news story, the vaccines. And my mother's 89 and mother-in-law is 91. They both received their shots and they're thrilled, excited, and it was an excellent process. So I'm waiting for my turn, and I hope and encourage everyone else to get their vaccines and pull together, get your shot, that type of thing. So yeah, no problems. I'm waiting for mine. Just one other thing was the game of floods. It was an interesting group, and something that it was the facilitator mentioned. And she said you need to give yourself a hug. This is once we get through COVID and this sea level rise and climate change becomes more the focus. People were traumatized. It was a difficult topic for people to adapt to. That these are big topics, and how am I going to talk about this as an elected official going forward, not traumatizing people that, oh God, the world is falling apart here, that there is some hope. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to the game of floods tonight and to continue on that and somehow to frame this, that this is solvable into the future. So it's just something that it was a difficult moment at our breakout groups when we had the people were feeling overwhelmed by what's coming towards them. Watching the video of Campbell River getting more and more water into their waterfront was fairly disturbing, and I'm sure Seashell could have a very similar kind of picture video. So it was just something I'm trying to build my awareness around, the sensitivity to the trauma that's around these big, difficult, the wicked problems that we're facing. So yeah, thank you. I'll be there tonight. So thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Director Hiltz. Next up, I have Director Ties.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, the APC orientation I was at yesterday. Thank you very much to staff for organizing a good event, and I think the area A and B one will be helpful as well. So thank you for that, and I think there was some good feedback received on all sides, and that was a good event. And then, yeah, Game of Floods, I guess the conclusion of that is happening tonight, and I'm looking forward to that. And to Director Hiltz's comment, I think I'm hoping, yes, people aren't traumatized, but I'm hoping that this will create some urgency, some much needed urgency. Time is of the essence in this, and the more we can do now, the bigger the repercussions are in the future. So, and I think this is a good exercise to drive home to people as to how big the problem is. Unfortunately, it's usually preaching to the choir. The people that show up already know how big a problem it is. It's the people that don't know that we need to convince. But anyway, that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, next up, Director McMahon.
Yeah, it has been busy, hasn't it? I was taken to task for using the second most overused word of 2020 in my newsletter, which is pivot. So I have now decided that I will use pirouette instead. It has a much nicer picture in your head. Talking of Game of Floods, I won the awesomest prize. I won the shovel. This is slightly disturbing as a local government sort of image, but never mind. I'm good with it, and I will be making great use of it. The APC training last night, I think, went pretty well. I would say that I think folks from my APC would like to know a little bit more about the bigger picture. Like, where are we going to go with the OCPs and with the bylaw 310 and stuff? Because I think they're very eager to get involved in the bigger pieces that we need to do, because we're so busy fighting all these little bushfires here that we're not getting to some of the big meaty pieces. And I think there's a lot of interest in the community in that. I also attended the conference, and for those who didn't attend, if there's one bit that you listened to, I thought the workshop on mobilizing for climate action implementation was really good. That was a 1-hour workshop yesterday at noon, and I was particularly interested in comments from the mayor of Squamish about what they're doing there. You know, it's a similar enough community to us that I think it's kind of a good example for us to look at in terms of what more we could be doing. I've taken a bunch of other webinars on a number of topics, none of which I can remember at the moment, but I'm happy to share. If anybody is interested, I have links to a number of workshops on different topics. There was a particularly good one about embedded carbon. That was eye-opening. So yeah, just contact me anytime. On March the 22nd, we had a meeting with stream keepers and the town of Gibsons on collaboration with the Source to Sea project. That went really well. 4 creeks are going to get hydrometric monitoring stations, and those creeks are Charman, Gibsons, Somes, and Chester. And so looking forward to progress on that, and the stream keepers are collaborating and looking for more opportunities to gather helpful data going forward. I'm working on a paper newsletter to go out to the community in the next couple of weeks. I haven't done one in 2 years because it's a lot of work, but I'm doing one, so there. And then I just finally wanted to say that I think we're all really tired of our bubbles at this point. I mean, really tired of our bubbles. But one of the downsides is that I look at what I'm doing these days. I sit at home on Zoom and I drive to the grocery store and I go out for walks. And that's about my entire life. I don't think I have met a single new person in the last year. And I am not getting out to community events the way that we used to. So I'm not necessarily that much in touch with the community. And I think if that's true for me, it's going to be true for the vast majority of people. And I don't think that people who are comfortably off or retired really have any idea how serious the housing crisis on the Sunshine Coast is. Because if you're not involved with it, if you're not a younger person, or if you're not living in a precarious rental situation, you just don't realize how bad it is. So whatever we can do to communicate the seriousness, also the people who lost their jobs from COVID. I mean, I'm very much aware that most of the people I socialize with are employed in local government or self-employed or retired. And the impact on us personally has not been that severe, but there's a whole lot of other people in this community who are really, really struggling. And so the more that we can do to make that clear and to connect people and to just make the community aware of the issues, I think we should do that. So that's my last bit of the soapbox. Thanks.
Thank you, Director McMahon. Director Seegers, you're next up on my list.
Thank you. I was going to talk about the Flood Resilience Challenge, but it's been talked about. If you're aware, look at what's happening in Australia right now. Lots of flooding going on and quite devastating. As the town of Gibson's indicated, we also are moving through our budget. We had the last presentation yesterday with all of the staff asks. So now it'll be decision-making time. So it'll be interesting. Seashell Chamber is having their AGM tomorrow. They have some new directors coming on, some stepping away. Next week, we have a public hearing for the Seashell Legion for their new facility downtown that they're looking to build. And in the last week, Director Beamish, Chair Pratt, and I met the new director at the hospital. There was a week overlap between Jerry Latham, who's been doing a fabulous job, and Marie Dupereau, who is her replacement. So this was just a meet and greet kind of thing. We met her. We're looking forward to working with her going forward. And we wish Jerry Latham best on her retirement. Second time around. Maybe this time it'll stick, right? Although we loved having her. I mean, steady hand at the helm over the last 2 years has been phenomenal. I also had the opportunity to meet the interim chief operating officer, Sean Parr. So every couple of weeks, we have a call on Friday where we have an update with our region, with Coastal Health, on what's happening with the COVID and vaccines, etc. But it's always been this faceless voice on the other end of the phone. So I actually got to meet him, and we had a conversation. There'll be some things coming up that we'll be dealing with. On the recent call that we had at the leaders with our MP and MLA, there was some information about some federal funding programs for housing that none of us had heard about. So we'll be getting information about that coming forward. And poverty reduction strategy, they are going to be holding Imagine forums, 3 of them on the coast, one in Gibsons, one in Seashell, and then one for the rural areas. So watch for that information. This is part of gathering information, but also disseminating out some of the information they've collected. And then the final one I want to mention is there's a consultation that has opened for feedback to Health Canada on personal production of cannabis for medical purposes. It includes factors that Health Canada may consider when refusing to issue, renew, amend, or revoke a registration for personal purposes on the basis of public health or safety risks. It's a 60-day consultation. It closes on May 7th. It's open to all Canadians. So I will ensure that that information gets out to all of the directors as well. And you can forward it out to your networks. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Director Seegers. Well, everything I was going to say has already been taken care of by others. So with that, I'll just table Area B's report as such. And we will move on to, just bear with me one moment as I get back to our agenda here. So the last, we don't have any new business because there's just none today, but we will be moving in camera. So I'm going to ask for a motion that the public be excluded from attendance at the meeting in accordance with section 91J and K of the community charter, please. So moved and seconded. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Any questions from the, I see we've lost our lone member of the media. Were there any questions that came through during the meeting? Got none. All right. Okay, so does everybody need just a couple of minutes to get settled and secure your space? Do you need any longer than 2 minutes? No? Okay. So if you can just take 2 minutes, make sure you've secured your space for adequate privacy, and we'll be right back, let's say at 3:18, please.
Thank you, and welcome back to the Sunshine Coast Regional District regular board meeting of March 21st. Or no, March 25th. Oh my gosh, 2021. If you've stayed with us, thank you, and you're here just in time for us to adjourn for the day. So may I have a motion to adjourn, please? So moved and seconded by lots of you. So all those in favor? Thank you, motion carries. And I'm assuming no more questions have come from the audience, so we shall see you all again when we meet again.
Here.
Take care.